kan, aku nak terkencing ni. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So today I would like to present about the PPT presentation for the routing. Okay, so this is our group members. We have Aiman, me is Nabil, and Amirul. So we move to we move to task scenario. You are working as a network administrator in Penang International Airport. This airport is a 3-level building. You need to design the static routing network SIM in the company to serve a few employees on each floor. Besides that, you need to apply the standby router among the distribution router using the HSRP protocol. Floor 1 is assigned for the distribution 1, floor 2 is for distribution 2, and floor 3 is for ICT department. Users in floor 1 and floor 2 must get a dynamic IP address from ICT router. All departments must be able to communicate with each other and web server, but at the same time, they have their own separate working network except for the floor 1 and floor 2 users. This airport had purchased additional new 3 Cisco 2960 switch for each floor and 2 Cisco 1941 series router for distribution.
Okay, moving on for task 1. List of tasks. Design the additional topology based on current network. ICT router must connect to distribution router using floor 3 switch. Add 12960 switch per floor of the building. Floor 1 and floor 2 switches must connect with their own distribution router. Floor 1 and 2 switches must design with HSRP support connectivity. So this is our topology that we have created. As you can see here, we have 5 PC, and we have 2 distribution router, and also we add 3 switches. Okay. Moving on to task 2, plan the addressing scheme table. So IP address for the NZ LAN and ISP network is already pre-configured. Create IPv4 addressing table for additional network including ICT LAN. Floor 1 and floor 2 users should get dynamic address from ICT router. So this is addressing table. So for device ISP, we have 2 IP addresses, which was 10.100.100.20, and also we got 290.165.200 and 225. So for ICT, we have also three IP addresses. So we have 10.10.10.1, 10.100.100.1, and 10.1.1.1. So for distribution router 1, we have the IP address is 10.1.1.11, and for distribution router 1 again, it's 10.1.2.1. So for distribution router 2, the IP address is 10.1.1.21, and for distribution router 2 again is 10.1.3.1. So for task 3. So for task 3, configure static addressing on ICT router and distribution router. Configure static address on router interfaces. IP address for DNZ LAN and ISP network is already pre-configured. Okay, for ICT, so the command we add is first we must enter the N and configure confi command. And after that, we enter the interface G/Z0/0. And so we set the IP. we set the IP address 10.1.1.1 and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and we put the command no shutdown to make sure the interface didn't go down. Then we exit and we enter into interface G0/1. We set the IP address 10.10.10.1 and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. And also we again add the command no shutdown, and also we exit again and we go to the interface S0/0/0. So for interface 0/S0/0/0, we enter the IP address 10.100.100.1 and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.252, and we enter the command no shutdown again. For distribution router 1. Okay, for distribution router 1, at first we enter the command enable and configure the terminal. And then we enter the interface G0/0. So we set the IP address 10.1.1.11. And then the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. And we enter the command no shutdown and we exit the interface and we enter the interface G0/1. So for interface G0/1, we enter the IP address which was 10.1.2.1 and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and we enter the command no shutdown and we exit. Okay, for distribution router 2, we enter the command as usual, enable and configure terminal, and we enter the hostname router distribution 2, and then we go into the interface G0/0, and we enter the IP address 10.1.1.21, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. We enter the command no shutdown and exit, and we enter into interface G0/1. So for interface G0/1, the IP address we assign here is 10.1.3.1, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and we enter the command no shutdown and we exit the interface. And lastly, for ISP. So for ISP, we as usual, we enter the command enable and configure terminal, and then we set the host name as ISP, and then we enter into the interface S0/0/0, and we assign IP address 10.100.100.2, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.252. And then we enter the command no shutdown and we exit. Then we enter into the interface D0/0. So in interface D0/0, we enter the command IP address 209.165.200.225, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.252. Then we press the enter the command no shutdown and we exit the interface. And then we must add the IP route command. So we have 4 IP route command here, and the first one is IP route 10.10.10.0, 255.255.255.0. Then we enter the next hop IP is 10.100.100.1, and then we enter the command IP route 10.1.1.0, and the subname is 255.255.255.0, and also we add the IP address 10.100.100.1, and then we IP route 10.1.2.100.0, and the subname is 255.255.255.0, and the next hop IP is 10.100.100.1. And lastly is the command IP route 10.1.3.0, 255.255.255.0, and the next hop IP is 10.100.100.1.
Okay, so we move to task 4. Task 4 is need to configure static routing for distribution router and ICT router. So A, configure default static route for connection from ICT router to ISP. B, configure static route for related remote network from ICT router. And C, configure static route for related remote network from distribution router. So this is answer for task 4. For ICT, we have 3 IP route. So the first one is IP route 0.0.0.0.0. The subnet mask is 0.0.0.0.0, and the next hop IP is 10.100.100.2. So the second IP route for ICT is 10.1.2.0. The subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and the next IP is 10.1.1.11. So the third or the lastly of the last of IP route for ICT is 10.1.3.0. The subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and the next of IP is 10.1.1.21. So for the distribution one, IP route have a two. So the firstly is IP route 0.0.0.0, 0.0.0.0, and the next IP is 10.1.1.1. So the secondly is IP route 0.1.3.0. The subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and the next IP is 10.1.1.21. For the distribution 2, we have also two IP route. The firstly is IP route 0.0.0.0. The subnet mask is 0.0.0.0, and the next IP is 10.1.1.1. Secondly, for distribution 2, we have IP route 10.1.2.0, subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and the next IP is 10.1.1.11. Okay, we move to task 5. Task 5 needs to apply HSRP protocol on distribution router. So A, plan and decide which distribution router should be active and standby. So B is configure standby router with priority 150. Okay, for this is the answer for task 5. Distribution 1 and distribution 2. So distribution 1, we need to put interface G0/0, then the standby 1 IP 0.1.1.254. Sorry. So the standby 1 priority is 150. Then the standby 1 prem. For the distribution 2, we need to interface G0/0. So we need to in standby, we need to put standby 1 IP 10.1.1.254, and standby 1 priority 100, and standby 1 prem.
Okay, so we are moving to task 6, configure DHCP server and DHCP relay routers. Configure ICT router DHCP servers. So B, configure DNS server address 10.10.10.10.10 in DHCP pool. C, DHCP pool name PBO/LAN. D, exclude first 10 addresses from PBO LAN's pool. E, excluded one address for default router. F, configure distribution routers DHCP relay to their LAN users. G, flow 1 and flow 2 users should get the same subnet address from DHCP server. So we are going to ICT router. So for ICT router, we are going to put the configuration as IP DHCP excluded address for 10.1.2.1, and also for the next op is 10.1.2.10. Moving on for the next one, IP DHCP excluded address 10.1.10.1.3.1, 10.1.3.10. And then moving to the next one is also IP DHCP excluded address 10.1.1.1.254. So this is the default gateway for the DHCP. And then IP DHCP pool PBO LAN network 10.1.2.0.255.255.255.0. So the next one is default router 10.1.1.254. And then DNS server 10.10.10.10. And then moving on, this is the same IP DHCP excluded also. And then we're going to move on for the next one, distribution router 1. We're going to put interface G0/1 IP helper address. And also for distribution 2, we're going to put the same thing also. Moving on to task 7, we are going to ping randomly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the topology. And I just randomly pick PC5. And firstly, I'm going to ping the PC's address. So first from PC5, we are going to ping to our G00. So it's going to be this. So when you ping it successfully, and then we move to the next one, that is 10.1.11. So you guys can see it's also successful. And then we move on to 10.1.1. Okay, so we move into this, it's also successful. Moving on to the next one, that is 10.10.10. Is for the DNS server, and finally it's going to be for web server. So for web server, it's going to be so as you guys can see, it's all successful over here. So for conclusion, I would say our PC, we did everything from the topology can be pinged, and yep, that's all from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.